Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Chapter 8, Lesson 5. This is called Solving Equations with Variables on Both Sides. So there's a couple things that we really need to make sure that we are doing when we are solving this. So the first thing we want to do, is we want to make sure that all of our variables are on the same side of the equal sign. So all variables on the same side of the equal sign. So, for example, you should have something that looks like this. Something along those lines. Notice how the x variable here, the x term here, is on one side of the equal sign. There isn't any variables on this side. The reason why we want to do that is because when we solve this, we don't want to have variables on both sides, because that's what we start with. The next thing we want to do is we want to get all non-variables on the other side. So whatever side we have our variable on, so we have our variable term here on the left side, which means we want to get rid of this 5. We want to get it onto the right side. So, for example, when we manipulate this, we want to subtract 5 from both sides, and we would have 3x equals 6. Notice how on one side of the equal sign is just the variable term, and on the other side of the equal sign is the non-variable term. That's what we want to have. And then step 3, we want to solve for our variable. Let's actually make this look like a V over here. There we go. So if we were to do this, the example we would have here, x would be equal to 2, because we would want to divide both sides by 3. So 3x divided by 3 would just be x, and 6 divided by 3 would get you 2. Alright, so let's look at an example here. We have solve 5x plus 12 equals 2x. So as we go through this, as we solve equations, we want to draw a line down the middle, and that really helps us stay balanced. Now, in this case here, we have a variable term on the left side and on the right side. We don't want that. We want it on one side. We also have a non-variable term here, but nothing over here. Which means that I'm going to want to get rid of this 5x over here, because that means just less work for me to do. But I can do it the other way too if I wanted to. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. This creates a 0 pair. All that remains is 12. And on the right side, we'd have negative 3x. Step 2, I want all my non-variable terms on the other side of the equal sign. So all my variables are on the right side. Already I have all my non-variables on the left side, so I don't have to do anything else except solve this. So I'm going to divide by negative 3, and I'll get x equals negative 4. Now, if you wanted to switch this up and move the 2x, get rid of that first. So let's rewrite this equation. So I have 5x plus 12 equals 2x. I can subtract the 2x from both sides. I'm perfectly okay with that, because this creates a 0 pair, so all that remains over here is 0. 5x minus 2x is 3x, and I'd have 3x plus 12. Now, this is where it differs, because over here, I didn't have to do my step 2, because I already had variables on one side, non-variables on the other. Over here, I don't have that. I have variable and non-variable on the same side. So I need to subtract 12 from both sides to create a 0 pair, so all that remains is 3x and negative 12. And then my last step is to solve, so I still get x equals negative 4. Notice, though, how one equation had an extra step depending on which method I choose. So it doesn't matter which one you choose, but one will show more work. All right, example 2. Now we're dealing with fractions. So first thing, I want to move my variables onto the same side. So I want to get rid of this one over here, just because this is smaller than this. So I'm going to subtract 1/4 x from both sides. This creates a 0 pair, so I'm left with 3 over here. I have a minus 3 here. And now this part. 3/4 x minus 1/4 x. Now the nice thing is my denominators are the same, which means all I have to do is subtract the numerators. So 3 minus 1 is 2, and keep the denominator the same. Now, what you could do is simplify that 2 right away to 1/2. That's perfectly fine. I'm just going to keep it like this for right now, just because it's going to be one extra step to do later. Now, I have all of the variable terms on the same side. There aren't any over here. It's all on the left side. But I have this non-variable term here. I want to get rid of this one. So in order to get rid of it, I have to create a 0 pair by adding 3 to both sides. Creates a 0 pair. I'm going to simplify this now. So from 2/4, this becomes 1/2. And 3 plus 3 is 6. Continue my line. Now, this is where we get into talking about rational coefficients again. I believe this was lesson 1. But when we have rational coefficients, we multiply by the reciprocal in order to simplify and get the variable all by itself. So this right here, that simplifies to 1. So I have 2 times 1 would be 2. 2 times 1 is 2, and that simplifies to just 1. So this simplifies to just x. On the right side, I have 6 times 2, which would be 12. Let's go back and check it, just because this one's a little bit more difficult. So 3/4 times 12 minus 3 equals 1/4 times 12 plus 3. And let's check to make sure that that is okay. So 3/4 of 12 is 9. 1/4 of 12 is 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. 3 plus 3 is 6. This checks out. Yay! That is the first 2 examples. We can also recheck number 1 if you wanted to as well. We'd have 5 times negative 4. Let's make a little bit more room here. So I'd have 5 times negative 4 plus 12 is equal to 2 times negative 4. That is the original equation, substituting negative 4 in for x. 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. This right here simplifies to negative 8, which means that I did it correctly. Alright, let's look at example 3 then. Example 3 is a word problem. It says a car rental agency has 2 plans. So under plan A, a car rents for $80 plus $20 per day. And under plan B, a car rents for $120 plus $15 per day. Write and solve an equation to determine the number of days it will be for both plans to cost the same amount. Now, with word problems, we want to highlight the important information. So this is going to be $20 per day, and that's for plan A. I'm going to change my color here to, let's say, green. Plan B then is $120 and $15 per day. And now, of course, we always want to be looking for when our questions, so we want to know when the plans are going to cost the same amount. So first thing we have to do is set up a variable. Our variable is going to represent the number of days. So D for days. Now, it says to write and solve an equation to determine the number of days it will be for them to cost the same amount, which means ultimately we're going to want plan A to equal plan B. So if we look back at the top here, let's just change these colors. We're going to make yellow into, let's go purple. So when I look at this, plan A is $80 plus 20 per day. So I'm going to say 80 plus 20 per day. Plan B then, it says 120 plus 15 per day. So what I'm going to look at here then is I'm going to be setting these equal to each other. And now I need to figure out how to solve this. So first step, again, as always, is I want to get my variable terms on the same side. So first of all, I have a 20D on the left side and a 15D on the right side. So I'm going to want to get rid of this 15D over here because it's smaller than the 20D. So I'm going to subtract 15D. This creates a zero pair. Let's go back to our original colors here now. So I'm going to draw a line all the way down. So all I'm left with then is 120 on the right side. I haven't touched the 80 yet, so I'm going to leave that alone. 20D minus 15D is 5D. Next thing I want to check is I have all variable terms on the same side. There aren't any over here. They're all here. And now I need all my non-variable terms on the other side. I have an 80 on the same side as my variable term. So I need to get rid of this. I get rid of it by creating a zero pair and subtracting 80. And whatever happens on one side has to show up on the other. Creates a zero pair. I'm left with just 5D. On the right side, 120 minus 80 is 40. Check to make sure all variable terms on one side, all non on the other. So things are looking really good. Now I just need to solve for my variable. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and then D equals 8. Unfortunately, no, I'm not quite done yet, because I need to answer my question. The question was, how many days will it be for them to be the same amount? My answer is 8, which means that I need to say both plans will cost the same at 8 days. So the 8th day will be the day that both plans will cost the same amount. All right, that is the end of this